Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back once again to another round here at RaceFace.Pro. We're officially here once again for round 2 of our GT3 championship. Last week we were at Donington Park, which really put the pressure on some people and really tested the limits of some of these cars. But this time we're at a very different type of circuit, much less cornering aggravatility around the track and a lot more straights to try and get that down power going on. Welcome to Monza. My name is Tristan Earps and I'll be commentating the Pro-Am division for you guys tonight. And yeah, it's going to be an absolutely incredible race. Apologies about that slight silence in the beginning there. My microphone unfortunately was not being detected, but we're all good. And we're officially ready to go for this amazing commentary session here. We're currently on qualifying here for round 2, which currently we already have a couple of lap times up on board. Mike LaRue, who we saw dominating last week, is once again back up on circuit. He's already setting himself a 1:47.8 from last night's times. We know that that is, you know, it's a relatively okay time. Last night we saw 1:46.5s around about for our qualifying pace. That's obviously with our sprint race, and that's a mixed grid between our Pro-Am and Am. It's anybody has the ability to register. There's no grading for our sprint series. It's only for our main championship, and so we might see some time differentiation. So currently Mike LaRue will try and aim a little bit higher, but it might not be at the cap we saw last night. Martin Rodenbach is in second position right now for the Kinetic Simworks Racing Force team, and are rolling around almost in a similar livery to what one of the legends around the track here, Hunty Myberg, rocks around in his team Tryhard Racing BMW. The orange and black is coming in to rock around the circuit. Jono de Toit for the Pandacity Infiltrate is also doing an incredible job so far. 1:47.7 is his fastest time. Sorry, that's his last time. It was invalid, unfortunately. So 1:48 flat is his fastest. Chantal Hansen currently up into the top 10, actually. She's going to be quite stoked about that. But we do still have 9 minutes left of qualifying. So that does mean the potential fact of people overtaking and coming back to try and strike back. Joan Vivier is in chat saying, good old Monza. So yes, once again, back at the legendary circuit. One of the oldest circuits in motorsport history. And from the beginning of the stream, you should have been able to actually see the old Monza circuits. There was a slightly white concrete portion of the track that goes into the forest here around Monza. That was the massive tilted right-hander hook that we used to see racing back in the day. Now we're on a much more leaner and flat gradient around here at Monza. And it does allow for a lot more car types to be racing around here, like our GT3 classes, which we're seeing here today. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited, because last night's race was full of action. It was a 45-minute sprint. Tonight, obviously, we're featuring the 1 hour and 20 minutes, including mandatory pit stops. So definitely going to be an exciting one to watch. Lots of strategy is going to come into play here. So we'll have to see how some people are going to strategize to make the win count at the end of the hour and 20 mark. Mike LaRue, though, like we mentioned, up into a 147.275, so almost breaking into the 146 zone, but just not quite. Rottenbach, 900ths of a second behind him, is pushing as hard as he can in that BMW, also doing a fantastic job so far. David van Wyk, one of our newcomers actually in the McLaren, also in the top 10 last week as his first race here for the GT3 champ, now already up into the top 5 for qualifying. So we've got loads of high hopes here for him to see what he can do. We did have a bit of a chat to him beforehand to see what kind of laps he's going to be doing, but he did mention it's going to be around the 47s and potentially around the 48s for race pace, but so far he is looking on par for a good lap time. But another big thing to mention here for this race and going forward is that our pit window has officially been removed, so there's no more 10-minute wait in the beginning and at the end for drivers to pit. Drivers are allowed to pit straight from when racing starts all the way up until racing ends. So this is going to play really well into any of those lap 1 incidents that do unfortunately happen. People are not going to be sacrificing loads of time trying to hold out a damaged car on track. Instead, they're going to be able to pull it into the pits and get their damage sorted. Mike LaRue, though, even faster now, 147 flat for him, and David van Wyk doing an incredible job, pushes himself up to second with a 147.25. So really, really good shot from him. He's really pushing that car to the absolute best that he can. Biggest, baddest, best in the commentary section, in the virtual grandstand. Come on, PWSR. So we got loads of people in the virtual grandstand supporting and pushing on. Unfortunately, Percival, just apologies about that. I did not sync liveries. We were sorting out a little bit of an issue just beforehand, and so I did not get the livery synced. I could possibly get them synced just before the next session, so we'll see if I can do that once again. But currently, Jean-René Toit for the Pandacity Infiltrate closes off our top 5. Sean Dorero, also a name from Donington who put a lot of pressure. He was one of the best comeback drivers at Donington Park, facing a massive accident during his lap 1, during the lap 1 Sega, and going all the way down to the 30th position mark and fighting all the way back up to the top 5. So incredible job for him, and he's going to be wanting to fight it out as hard as he can, though. Jean-René Toit has snatched that podium position, that pole position away from Mike LaRue. 146.992, so the first driver to break into the 46s. Mike LaRue is back out on track, trying to get that time down and potentially challenge. Sean Dorero sets a beautiful lap up into the podium positions now. Oh, just gets passed out by Martin Rautenbach, who's just taken third with a 147.1. So loads of competition up and down our grid over here. You can see there's multiple drivers pushing as hard as they can to get those lap times in. Michael Feast, there we go, one of the PWSR Charlie drivers who's being cheered on in the virtual grandstand. Now you can see him on the screen in the beautiful yellow, iconic PWSR yellow, white, and black livery for the Ferrari team, currently sitting down in 19th position. Sinclair Honey, who I found out the other day was actually Charles Darden, with changing his name on the RaceFace platform, is now Sinclair Honey. So Project Vapor's driver in 17th position right now, so he's trying to hold it out in the BMW. Roy Thiago is just a bit in front of him, but he's already up into the pit lane, getting ready to potentially go out one more time to set that lap. Conrad Martin of the Treehouse Works Racing McLaren team is also there, up into 15th position, as well as Jean-Ray Buerta in the Team Kerugma Racing, boasting another different livery there, a beautiful green livery there for the Kerugma Racing team. And for those who don't know, Jean-Ray Buerta, one of the livery makers here at RaceFace.Pro, and he's been assisting a couple of people around the platform who just don't have the all-around knowledge of designing a livery, so he's there to help. And it comes with the perk of being able to change your livery almost every single race. We've seen him do it in the past, and he does like to do it because he can always flash those beautiful liveries. Neil Swartz, though, up into 6th position, a top 10 for both the Lamborghinis out on grid, so they're going to be happy about that. Both of them also part of the Pandacity team, so this is looking great for them as it stands. But Jean-René Toit is still holding on to that sub 147. Mike LaRue is trying to find as much time as possible around track. The green Viper Snake looking car is really trying to push it out and try and find those limits of his Mustang. From personal experience, driving the Mustang here last night for the 45-minute, it was a bit of a tough drive around this track. Loads of understeer coming into play for your big front engine cars, especially the Mustang, where the engine sits very heavily towards the front with the massive V8. It's got a lot of weight packing on that front axle, And so loads of understeer does come into play. You really have to challenge it, but it does come with the perk of loads of front speed straight and top speed around the back straight and the main straight around here in Monza. It really does prove itself worthy. And some of the other cars, like you see on the screen right now, the McLaren of David van Veek, a relatively good top speed, but also really good cornering speed for the mid-engine cars. The McLaren also boasting an incredible amount of speed around here, same as the Ferrari. So loads of them will be competing with each other to try and make anything possible happen over here. And we're just going to quickly get our awesome sim racing opened up so long, getting ready for the sync to happen. And we'll, as soon as qualifying's over, get the sync going through. And hopefully get some of the liveries on that we weren't able to see just because I forgot to pass, such as Herman Percival for the Apex Titans Racing. And he's currently chasing down a green McLaren right now. Actually, I haven't seen that McLaren yet on track. I believe that might be a little bit further down the grid. That might be Francois Buerta. No, definitely not him. Might potentially be Alex Pitro. No, that's not Alex Pitro. It might be Carl Henderson in the number 21 Henderson GT. Nope, that's definitely not him. It might be Ulrich. Nope, not Ulrich. It might be Yakunodia. Not Yakunodia. Anton Lammers. No. It looks like it is Lawrence Badenost. And you can see they're just in the green Treehouse Works racing car. A little bit of a confusion there for me, coming from Omnius Gaming's green cars. It's nice to see a lot more green out on track. And both of them, Conrad Mons and the likes of Lawrence Badenost, flashing the different opposite contrast colors. They're green and red on both their liveries. So that's quite a cool twist to see. But currently, Mike LaRue really struggling to find the pace in that Mustang. And wrap around the circuit just to try and catch up to Yandre de Toit. So far, not finding what he is missing, which is just on the edge over there, 1/10 away. Martin Radenbach is 1.5 tenths away. And then, speaking of it though, Gerard Pretorius has come in just beating out Yandre de Toit by 10,000ths of a second. And 146.952 for Gerard Pretorius, 146.962 for Yandre de Toit. So extremely close field here for the Pro-Am division. And that's exactly why they've earned themselves the badge of the Pro Light drivers, because these guys, no matter what their division title says, they boast an incredible amount of speed around the track here. So incredible performance so far. Chris Collison, also a name we saw last night, had a great race. And then later towards the end, unfortunately, dropping off a little bit due to a couple of spins happening around track. We saw that one. But currently sitting in 10th position for the Stinger Racing team. 147.3 as his best for his last. And trying to just make up that time before the end of qualifying. He had 25 seconds left. Herman Percival's also still out on track for the Apex Titans Racing. And he is definitely against the cancer cause of here. So once, and I actually have seen the livery in the Discord. It's an amazing looking pink livery to support the cancer awareness, and it's a great livery to have. So it's also why I do genuinely feel bad to have not gotten those liveries synced. And oh, that looks like a bit of an impact there. The only Mercedes out on grid, that would be Vessel Voda, if I can recall. And he's currently sitting, yep, that's Vessel Voda. A little bit further, he's already pulled in, but qualifying is officially over. It does look like Mike LaRue has taken it back. 146.892, beating out Gerard Pretorius by 600ths of a second. And that has been an incredible job of his. So we're going to quickly do our sync over here. And it's just busy passing. Once I see the pass is over, we'll quickly disconnect from our server and reconnect to make sure that we can see all of those beautiful liveries come the start of the race. But so far it's looking good. There's a couple of drivers still out though. Jean-Ray Buerta coming out to match his time. He comes across the line. Carrie Duplessis still further down in 25th position with a best of a 148.1. So currently he's 1/10 off of his delta. He does still have a Scari though to potentially make up this lap time. Hansi Meiberg also down in 31st trying to make up some time. He's currently 4/10 up on his current lap, so that's also a good one to follow. Harry Duplessis is now evened out on his lap time, and Mike LaRue actually also still out on a lap. He's 2/10 up currently. This could potentially be even more of a lap time break. Mike LaRue has really started to feel the groove in that big Mustang, and currently 2/10 up. Will it be faster? Definitely is going to be. 146.6 will come in here for Mike LaRue as he crosses the line, and just losing out at the end there, potentially losing out, losing some fuel at the end, running out and just missing out. But currently Harry Duplessis comes across. It is 3/10 down, so it's not going to be an improvement for him, and so we'll have to see how it comes. But our liveries have officially been synced. We're going to quickly cross over to our commentary box over here, get these quickly disconnect from our server, and then we'll reconnect, hopefully featuring all of our amazing liveries on grid over here as they should be displayed. So just connecting once again here. We should be ready for the starting grid before we get in, and indeed we are. And now I can see the beautiful pink livery, which is amazing to see. Just waiting for our... There we go. We are officially back on. So swapping back over to our main, and we are officially back on for racing. As you can see, there it is out on track. Currently, Herman Percival sits in 4th position with that car. And, oh, sorry, I need to quickly just disconnect to connect. There we go. Herman Percival currently sitting, and let's actually try and see if we can get a bit of a better camera angle. There we go. The pink car is in action here for Herman Percival. So he's definitely rocking that livery as nice as possible. And this is going to be a definite good one for him. 1 minute and 26 seconds currently. You're going to be seeing the drivers. Well, you won't be seeing them. That's exactly the point. They're currently working on setup. So drivers making sure that the car is ready. It's got enough fuel. We've unfortunately seen the trauma, especially from the side of Omnius Gaming, with last night once again having a couple of drivers running out of fuel coming across the line. And so most of these drivers, thankfully, having the ability, or not having the ability, having the requirement of 2 mandatory pit stops means that there is going to definitely be some form of refueling happening, whether that's a split refuel over the 2 pit stops, or if it's a 1 major refuel and a splash and dash, which is what we usually see most of our drivers doing. But running through the grid before we start off here, and we'll actually do that as soon as we get started on the formation lap, as everybody still lines up. We are going to head up towards Tim in the helicam to see this inaugural grid of 33 cars here for the Pro-Am division. Rob van der Heever does line us up at the back, and Sheldon Aguilas, the only driver here in the old Ferrari 488 Evo. So he's also just having a bit of fun in the car, but also trying to find this pace. Hunty Myberg also a little bit further towards the back, and then obviously Vesselvoda, like we saw him having a little bit of a spin there towards the end, not getting in the lap time he wanted. We also saw one of the Lamborghinis there. I believe that was Jonathan Chislett, who also faced a bit of a spin towards the end there of qualifying, and just not getting the qualifying lap in that he wanted. So he starts a little bit further back. Chantal Hunton also starts a little bit further back than she might have, despite it wanting. But all in all, it is going to be a monumental start. T1 might be a little bit of an issue, as we did see a massive pile-up last night going into T1. A couple of drivers starting to face the wrong way, and we might see that happening tonight. But let's run you through our grid order before we get kick-started. And Woohoo Studio saying go, 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 99 and 96. 99, Ron van der Walt, the Panda, and 96, Ron Liebenberg, also in the Pandacity Black. Both of them rocking the same livery. A little bit of rubber banding going on for Ron Liebenberg. He experienced this the other night. Not too sure if anybody is in comms with Ron Liebenberg to potentially notify him that he is rubber banding terribly hard. And yeah, he's definitely major rubber banding. That could cause some issues for this race. So if any of the Pandacity guys are in the virtual grandstand, please just to notify him, because this could cause an accident like we saw at Donington Park with Chris Collison. He did rubber band a little bit. But taking us through our virtual taking the virtual grandstand through our current grid standing, Mike LaRue wraps around for 1st position, followed by Gerard Pretorius. Jan de Toit is in 3rd position, followed by Herman Percival, now boasting a beautiful livery. Martin Rodenbach in 5th position, Neil Swart in 6th, followed by Jay Buerta, Jean-Ray Buerta in 7th, Sean Lorero follows in 8th, Ron van der Walt in 9th, David van Wyk in 10th position, and followed by him 11th position is Michael Feast. Chris Collison in 13th position. 14th position is Conrad Martin, followed by Johan Viviers in 15th position, Lawrence Badenhorst in 16th, Jason Landsberg in 17th, Anton Lammers in 18th position, Yaku Nordia in 19th, Sinclair Honey, aka Charles Darden, down in 20th position, Ruth Jager 21st, Alex Petro in 22nd position, Kyle Henderson joining in just at the nick of time with RaceFace over here. I saw him just messaging to get his entry in. He's in 23rd, Chantal Hunton in 24th, Carrie Duplessis is down in 25th position, Jonathan Chislett in 26th, Henk Petersen down in 27th position, followed by Francois Buerta in 28th for the Ploegskade Marlboro in 28th position, Vessel Voda down in 29th, Alvin Preem is in 30th, and then Hunty Myberg follows him in 31st, Sheldon Aguilas in 32nd, and last but not least, Rob van der Heever for the GSRT, number 51 down in 33rd position, and he's going to be starting from the back, which means he'll be potentially experiencing chaos going down into the main first turn. And let's hope everybody can keep their cool as we go out of turn 1. But currently Mike LaRue leads this inaugural and massive pack. You can see the brake lights are being constantly highlighted as these drivers are performing a lot of brake dragging, getting those tires warm. A good thing to note for some people who are relatively new to watching the GT3 class of racing, as you might see in F1 on formation and warm-up laps, drivers will be swaying left to right to keep those tires nice and warm and getting heat into them. With GT3 racing, it does not work like that. Actually, swaying left to right will begin to lower the temperature inside of your tires, and you will actually lose a little bit of PSI going down into turn 1. So what you'll see for most of the drivers, staying in one straight line and absolutely obliterating their brake pedal while holding the throttle pedal, and this essentially causes brake dragging, where the brakes heat up the inner rim of the tire, therefore heating the inside of the tire and causing a good pressure spike. And that's exactly what you want going into turn 1. You're rolling a little bit slower on track, and you don't want to have that slightly slower car heading around track because of tire pressure. So you'll see that with most drivers getting their tires nice and warm. But now wrapping around for the final corner over here of Parabolica, and we're going to be heading down to the main straight here of Monza. This is going to be a good start, definitely, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready to capture the ore of this massive grid. Harold Pretorius is just behind Mike LaRue, who sits currently in pole position. We're going to head over to our helicam, waiting for the starting. As you can see, just waiting, almost getting ready. Herman Percival's just on the back of Harold Pretorius. And there we go, the green light has officially been announced. A good jump for Herman Percival just on the outside, the Foster accelerating Honda NSX. But Jean-Ray Dutoit's also gotten a bit of a better jump on the Mustang. The Mustang having a bit better top line speed, and manages to push him out too wide going into the next corner. Like we mentioned, the grass does tuck in, and everybody forming in nicely. We're going to follow on towards the back of the grid, though. A little bit of bumping there for some of the Pandacity drivers. David van Beek is holding on the inside, and one of the Pandacity drivers have been spun around. That's going to cause a little bit of a roadblock towards the back of our grid, but it seems like a much cleaner turn 1 compared to last night. Everybody learning their lesson there and not pushing the car a little bit too fast and too hard, and everybody getting away nice and strong. A little bit of contact, though, all throughout the grid. About 8 little bits of contact throughout the grid, and everybody getting through strong. Rod Liebenberg has finally, it looks like he did disconnect and come back. He's back on, and there doesn't seem to be any form of rubber banding on his side. Further back, though, is Anton Lammers, and also Jonathan Chislett is now fighting with Yaku Nordier. Already lap 1 scrimmage coming on, and Chantal Hansen also a little bit further behind. Sheldon Aguilas and also Rob van der Heever a little bit further behind, are also still trailing and trailblazing. Herman Percival has taken the lead, though. Mike LaRue has lost out a little bit to the Honda NSX. Honda NSX being one of the fastest accelerating vehicles here in ACC, but the Mustang having the top speed along this grid. So the fastest car to pull it on the drag strip. Followed by him, Jean Dutoit has also kept up with the main pack. He really attempted to get alongside the Mustang down into turn 1, but it did not stick. Unfortunately, Harold Pretorius will also try and stick with the main pack as we head around track, though. And everybody seems to be forming along nicely. Further behind, Martin Rodenbach has also made it through cleanly. Neil Swartz trying to hold on and potentially catch up to his teammate in front, play some team orders. And currently, Jean-Ray Buerta holds a train. He's got a Mustang. Oh, and he's actually pulling into the pit lane. Not too sure what's happening there, but once again, remember, there is no pit window, meaning that drivers can pull in at any time they want. We do potentially have our undercutters coming in at the first lap possible that they can get. Jason Landsberg is into the pit lane, Ulrich Diache, Henk Petersen, Hunty Myberg, all of them pulling in to get that pit stop done and dusted. And this is a new era of racing we're going to see here. This is the first time in a while where we don't have any form of limit to when you can get in the pit lane. Oh, and Ruan Liebenberg is a little bit further behind there, but he is rubber banding extremely badly, and he has unfortunately left the server. That's a real unfortunate one to see, just not getting it going there. And there we go, already the first pit stop done by Jean-Ray Buerta, and he is trying to perform the undercut there. Anton Lammers under pressure now from Yaku Nordier. He's trying to hold on to his teammate in front of Lawrence Badenhorst, who's a little bit further up in front, chasing down on Michael Feast. And further on in front of them, Conrad Martin, all three of them chasing down each other for the Treehouse Works Racing team. And as you can see, the three-way split here, the battle for 12th is definitely on here. Michael Feast is not going to make this easy, though, for an overtake. Vessel Voda also a little bit further behind there, as you can see, fighting with Chantal Hansen just a bit in front of him, as well as Buerta, who's dropped off a little bit from the pack, but he's also loads and loads of side-by-side action here. Chantal Hansen almost getting side-by-side there with Vessel Voda. So, loads of action up and down the grid of here. You can see the action is going absolutely immense. Jonathan Chislett. Oh, and Chantal Hansen almost loses the car. Thankfully, not too much of a bad decision there. Let's flash back 10 seconds there. Comes under braking. Oh, just touches the grass on the right side. Thankfully, manages to keep the car under control, but does drift onto the track, making a little bit of contact there with Vesselvoda. Thankfully, nothing major for either of them. Vesselvoda still racing. Minor damage on the side of him. He's now getting overtaken. That's Rob van der Heever, started last, up into 22nd already. He's gained over 10 positions by some of the people doing their early undercut overtakes. And so he's feeling really good about himself. The confidence is brewing inside of him as he chases down the big V8. The McLaren, the Mercedes, sorry, will have the better straight line speed over the Ferrari, but slipstream is a thing. Side by side now, Rob van der Heever looking up at the inside line. He doesn't have the launch though, and decides to pull and tuck back in. He does not want to cause any form of incident there. But now Mike LaRue right on the backside of Herman Percival. They are slowly starting to run away. 1 point or so second gap between Mike LaRue and Jean-René du Toit. But everybody definitely still within a fighting window with each other. All the way down, David van Veek is also 6/10 behind Sean Loureiro. So the battle for first is definitely still on over here. David van Veek will try and hold on as much as he can to that top 10 spot, just behind Sean Loureiro, the comeback god, who is trying to make it around the circuit. This time, absolutely no issues for him, though, in terms of lap 1 incidents, and he's already maintained himself up in the top 10, so he's going to be happy about that one. Jean-René du Toit, though, is still trying to keep on. Currently now 6/10 behind Mike LaRue. He has caught up, but Mike LaRue could potentially have himself a position here to make a dive on Herman Percival. The Honda slightly slower straight line speeds compared to the Mustang, and we could see a dive here going on to the main straight. Let's watch it here as Mike LaRue really creeping on the back of that Honda. Will not have the drive out of the corner, the Honda having the better drive, but the top speed coming onto the back straight here of Monza, will it be in favor of the Mustang? On board with him now, as you can see. Will it be enough in the slipstream of the Honda? And it's looking like he's creeping up. I think he's going to run out of track though. And looking side by side, will he attempt the dive? He's looking up on the inside, but he doesn't put his nose in and keeps the racing clean. Stays just behind the likes of Herman Percival, and they continue racing as of normal. David van Veek still keeping that train alive, and Johan Beviers and Sinclair Honey a little bit further behind, also just trying to make anything possible count here. Michael Fies is also trying to put pressure. He's made it past Conrad Martin, so now the three Treehouse Works racing teammates are now in train with each other. Conrad Martin, Lawrence Badenhorst, Anton Lammers, all of them pushing on the back of each other, just trying to keep each other in the loop of how fast they should be running. They've got two cars surrounding them, the likes of Kyle Henderson and Michael Fies. Will try and put loads of pressure, but that's Alex Petra actually just a little bit further behind in the Alley Cat McLaren, and putting as much pressure on as he can. Jonathan Chislett a little bit further as well in the Huracan Evo 2. Must say, one of the more very nice striking looking cars. Loads of geometric objects around the car, and it does make the car look extremely aggressive here, especially around Monza. The Italian on Italian is definitely working. Francois Berta, the Pluscardo Marlboro, is still further behind, chasing down Jonathan Chislett, and Vesselvoda is creeping up behind him as well. But currently, Rob van der Heever, Sheldon Aguilas might potentially have a chance here to make an overtake on the GSRT driver. Potentially better top speed over here in the older car, bigger engine, and not looking to make any form of dangerous dive bomb. Keeps behind him and will trail behind the slightly faster Ferrari 296 in the corners. And let's see what happens to them as they proceed though. Jason Landsberg, after completing a pit stop, is now trailing behind the net P1 in terms of pit stops, Jean-René Buerta. And it seems like we've lost Alvin Prima, unfortunately. He's only done one lap, so disconnecting a little bit earlier on, and so is Reardon Liebenberg, who's just not having the day for him currently. Chris Collison also getting a couple of pit stops done. Oh, and that looks like one of the Pandacity Lamborghinis. I believe that might be Jean-René du Toit, actually. And he also actually already loads of potential moves coming over here, as Chris Collison is in the danger zone for being lapped. As you can see there, just behind him is Mike LaRue, who's already made the position on Herman Percival. We did not unfortunately see that, but Mike LaRue now pushing on the back of Chris Collison, and it's only been 4 laps of racing here. That's what the undercut strategy is all about though. So 2 pit stops left to go for Mike LaRue. Chris Collison is definitely still in this race. It's not like he's at the back due to mistakes being made. He does have the pace, but if he does start to become a bit of a block, he will have to concede the position to Mike LaRue. Otherwise, he could be penalized for not allowing the blue flag driver through. Makes it easy and allows Mike LaRue to get the jump on him. But now Herman Percival will want to get past that yellow Mustang as fast as possible to try and keep up with Mike LaRue and not lose himself this potential podium position. He's got immense amount of pressure from Garrett Pretorius, the Griffin Sim Racing, 2 pink cars. The battle of the pinks right now, as Garrett Pretorius is not making this easy at all for him. You can see both of the mid-engine cars both having excellent exit corner acceleration, and we'll have to see who will get the better jump over here. Garrett Pretorius trailing behind, and potentially might get the slipstream here. On board with him now, you can see, well, he might potentially have the jump, and a little bit getting closer. It's not going to be enough though, definitely not before the end of the straight, and he'll have to keep on pushing and trying again. But he might potentially be overtaken by Jean de Toit, who's also putting immense amounts of pressure. Oh, and that's a late dive there from Neil Swartz, and does thankfully concede the position, allows the BMW of Martin Rodenbach to get past safely. And a little bit late on the brakes there for Neil Swartz, almost turning into an incident there, just clipping that inside curb, and that almost turned bad for both of those drivers making their way around circuit. Sean Lorero is just behind them as well, putting loads amounts of pressure now. The Mustang does have the better top speed compared to both the cars in front of him, but he will have the understeer compared to the Lamborghini, who can rotate between these corners a lot better. As you can see, looking around the outside there of Neil Swartz, trying to see any possible position he can make. He might have the better exit here going up towards Ascari just after the Lesmos, and we could potentially see an overtake here for the likes of Sean Lorero. On board with him though, chasing down Neil Swartz. There's a long train of cars over here. Neil Swartz almost looks like he's applying brakes though. That's a bit of a weird look there. Don't think that's the case though, as they continue pursuing around track, and Neil Swartz just a little bit further ahead. And oh, very late on the brakes there for the likes of Sean Lorero, a little bit later on the brakes for the Mustang, and could potentially carry the drive. Martin Rodenbach has gone off wide. He's lost a little bit of drive now, and now under pressure. The battle is definitely on here for 5th position as the train continues to escalate. Martin Rodenbach is going to feel the pressure. You can see the 2 cars trailing right behind him, now coming out of Parabolica onto the main straight. He could potentially be under a little bit of pressure here. 2 cars, loads of downforce and loads of slipstream coming from them as well. The Mustang will have the better drive. Neil Swartz is now feeding the pressure. Sean Lorero will look for the gap as they really begin to push each other. Sean Lorero is forced to the outside though. He is carrying more speed than Martin Rodenbach. It's almost 3 wide going down into turn 1, and thankfully not. Neil Swartz will hold the inside line, but Sean Lorero getting that rotation in the Mustang, carrying a bit more speed, and has made it past cleanly. But now Neil Swartz, better exit cornering speed, just chipping in behind the Mustang of Sean Lorero, who will now be chasing down. But Martin Rodenbach feeling a little bit of relief there from the fights happening around him. He does have a little bit of breathing room. 3.2 seconds of a gap now between Herman Percival and Mike LaRue. Herman not able to get past Chris Collison, and he is slowly losing out towards the race leader, Jean de Toit, 1.2 seconds away from Percival. All of these guys are beginning to create a bit of a gap between each other, so we'll have to see how it does play towards the end after some of our pit stops have been taken. Sheldon Aguilas and Rob van der Heever, both of them putting immense amounts of pressure on each other. Harry Duplessis has gotten past Rob van der Heever. Sheldon Aguilas looking for the overtake now, up onto the inside, doesn't make it though, and looks to be a little bit too dangerous for him. They're not enough front tire to rear tire gap there, and decides to pull the car back in. Not worth the potential damage he could obtain from that fight. Jason Landsberg a little bit further behind. He's got 1 pit stop complete already, and Ulrich Diache a little bit further behind him will be fighting, but Henk Pieterse is just on the backside of him. The 2 mid-engines will be fighting hard here. Relatively equal performance for both of them. Oh, I believe we might have just lost. Okay, no, it seems like all is good. Ulrich Diache looks like he lost out a little bit there, but he is back. A little bit of a server glitch there. That actually looked like Henk Pieterse. And where is Ulrich Diache? That is Ulrich Diache there. Apologies, a little bit of confusion there. And Jason Landsberg a little bit further on in front. John Roberta, though, leading. He's actually been overtaken though by Gerard Pretorius. And Gerard making a pit stop as well. He was up in the top 3. He decided to pull the car in. A little bit too much dirty air up in the top 3. And now will patrol towards the back of the grid though. 1 pit stop left to go for him. So the undercut is indeed in favor here for him, as he patrols around for another 1 hour and 6 minutes left. Martin Rodenbach is still a nicely 1.3 second gap though from Sean Lorero. And Sean slowly but surely shaking off the likes of Ron van der Walt, who's further on behind him. Lots of fighting though And Neil Swartz has pulled into the pit lane. That's who I was looking for. He has completed a splash and dash. It looks like he comes out very quickly, and he's going to come out in 23rd position. So loads of positions lost there due to the beginning of the grid being very compacted with each other. That's also one of the risks with the extremely early undercuts, is that the grid is very much formed together, meaning you lose the maximum amount of positions possible compared to later on in the race when people have made a couple of mistakes and the grid has begun expanding like a concertina. And so they'll have to watch out for that. Some of the guys who will go for the overcut may potentially find a bit of an advantage from that, fighting towards the pack and slowly minimizing the field as drivers are pitting. They have less to worry about and less dirty air to climb through on the field. Jonathan Chislett, though, is feeling it from Francois Berta. The Pluscara Marlboro is really putting lots of pressure on just behind him. And further on, Chantal Hansen trying to catch up to this fight, the battle for 17th. And she is really putting pressure on the Venomworks 2025 Mustang, sending it around track. And a very similar design actually to Mike LaRue. Hers just having the pink arrows down the middle. Mike LaRue's having green tint all over the car. So nice little bit of differentiation between the two. And both of them are part of the Venomworks Racing. So it's a nice team change of the colors over there. 5.2 second gap though. Herman Percival is definitely beginning to build too much of a gap here towards Mike LaRue. He has passed Chris Collison. So has Jean-Louis Detoit and Martin Raudenbach. And now Sean Herrero is also going to get past him. It looks like Chris Collison is starting to let a lot more of the drivers through. Just allowing them to pass. You can see the indicator on there letting them know that he's going to be on the outside line. Sean Herrero now chasing down Raudenbach. And not that far away actually from chasing down for the fourth over here. He does have top 5. And David van Beek, also due to some of the people performing their undercut overtakes, up into 7th position now, and he will feel it slowly from Johan Viviers, but he does have a good amount of gap between him and the car behind, so we'll have to see how that does end up going. Sinclair Honey also a little bit further behind. He's got Michael Feast on the back of him, and still the Treehouse Works Racing duo, all three of them putting immense amount of pressure on each other, patrolling around the track and just keeping it as clean and consistent as possible. Alex Petro is just a little bit further behind, and Kyle Henderson is trying to grip onto this fight. Same with the likes of Vessel Voda, but he has gotten past Jonathan Chislett, who is just a little bit further on behind him. Mike LaRue, though, is starting to run away with this race now. 4.9 seconds. Herman Percival has caught up around 3/10 in the past lap. So if he keeps it up, he could potentially begin to minimize that gap. Martin Radbach is just a little bit further on behind him. And Jean-Louis Detoit is also not messing around at all. Sean Herrero, we know him. He's going to put pressure there for the grip from Sim Racing. Oh, a little bit wide actually for the Mustang driver. Not catching the grip that the Mustang needs there compared to the car in front. Trying to follow the line of the Lamborghini. Just not able to though, as he doesn't have the speed. But Jean-Louis Detoit is going to feel it now. On board with him. You can see how the Mustang carries that straight line speed. But it's not going to be enough to dive up on the inside line there for Sean Herrero. And keeping it nice and safe. Right on the back though of that Lamborghini. We could see an overtake happening in the few forthcoming laps though, so keep an eye out for the battle for third over here, as Jean-Louis Detoit and Martin Radbach just a little bit further up in front of them. The two of them are going to begin to cascade and become one with each other over here in terms of grid position. Looking at our trap map though, we do have a good amount of fighting going on towards the back of the grid though. Our number 32, number 33 actually, and I believe that is Mr. Sinclair Honey, and he's chasing down Francois Buerta, the first driver to get a drive-through penalty, unfortunately, and actually something we didn't see at all last night. Everybody keeping it nicely in the grips of the track, so Francois Buerta trying to push that McLaren to its absolute limits, just not finding the track limit and going straight over it. But currently 465 leads a huge battle. That's Martin Raudenbach. He's got a huge train of cars behind him trying to chase him down for his position. Same with the number 163 car, that's Conrad Martin, like we've been seeing them throughout the track. Him and his teammates slowly creeping up to the top 10 of Michael Feast, who's just a little bit further ahead. Michael Feast, though, is putting pressure on Sinclair Honey right behind him now. And this could also potentially be a position to further on increase his gap up into the top 10. Both of them going extremely wide. And they're going to need to watch out for the track limits here, though. Michael Feast is really creeping up towards the likes of Sinclair Honey, as you can see, right on the back of him. And he might potentially have the drive here with the slipstream to get him on the next straight. We'll have to keep on monitoring him, but here we go. A little bit of a better exit though for the Ferrari. Sinclair Honey is going to feel the pressure just on his back wing. You can see how the Ferrari is going to be in the slipstream. The dirty air is going to contradict it, but he is finding that air gap, and you can see the Ferrari slowly creeping in closer. He's not going to run out of time over here. He is going to get up on the long side with Sinclair Honey diving in on the inside line. We see the same though. Oh, and unfortunately late braking there for Michael Feast. Lawrence Badenhorst almost doing the same to his teammate, but decides to pull in and not cause any form of incident. But now Michael Feast letting the likes of Sinclair Honey back into the position that he deserves. Unfortunately overshooting down into turn 1, and he's had to concede that position. Otherwise he would have been penalized further on after being reported in the race. But now he has lost a lot of time from that, and just on the back of him is Conrad Martin trailing with his full team of Treehouse Works Racing guys. They're going to come plant a tree on that McLaren, so you better watch out on that Ferrari. Sorry, just a little bit further on in front of him. So the train here for 10th is really beginning to grow. And Brandon Dos Santos in our virtual grandstand saying, let's go GSRT. I know we've got quite a few drivers on grid chasing down for GSRT. Currently Sean Herrero leads it for the GSRT team in 5th position, as he chases down Johnny Detroit. Ron van der Walt not too far behind him as well. And this is really a good thing to see around Monza. It's an entertaining track to watch when you've got so many different types of cars on the track. Your mid-engines versus your front engines. Unfortunately, no rear engines here, being the Porsches. So we're really comparing the two different types of engine structures over here. And we really do see it in terms of the straight line speed. The front engines having better top speed, but they do suffer the understeer in the corners, and that's exactly where the mid-engines have the better rotation. They do have slightly better brakes, but the Mustang having the better brakes out of most of the front engine cars, and also driving and like an absolute beast. The American V8 really does not take anyone for granted here, and pushes on and up until the end though. 59 minutes left of racing here, and it's still looking bright and sunny. 16 degrees is relatively low actually compared to what the track is looking like. Now the sun is absolutely blazing here in Italy, and it almost looks like the sun should be impacting a little bit more, but unfortunately it is not. So it's not going to play into those tires. Some people might actually be able to pull off the single tire strategy, and that's what I'm saying. We have to wait until the end of the race to see what strategy is going to be pulled and what strategy is going to play the best though. Francois Berta coming in for the Pluscar and Marlboro to serve his drive-through, and currently the only driver to have that drive-through will now get rid of it. David van Veek is still pursuing, closing in on Rowan van der Walt. The top 5 is just a little bit further on in front of him. He's currently got Chris Collison a little bit further behind, so no threat there. But Johan Viviers has just been overtaken by Rob van der Heever, it looks like. Rob van der Heever also down further, and oh, Francois Berta, not what you want to see, comes out from his drive-through and speeds out of the pit lanes. That's a stop-go 30-second penalty for him, and that is going to completely throw his race away. And very, very different ending that he possibly could have wanted here. Francois Berta not looking in good shape right now. That's going to boot him down to one of the final positions here on grid. The stop-go 30, one of the worst penalties you can receive here in ACC, due to having to stop the car completely, wait for a full 30 seconds, that's half a minute, and then only being able to pull out of your pit lane. So lots and lots of time that you have to spend in the pit lane, and we'll have to see how that does indeed turn out for him. Johan Viviers in 8th position. He's got Sinclair Honey, sorry, that's not Sinclair Honey, that is the likes of Rob van der Heever, trying to keep up and not get himself continuously lapped. Sinclair Honey, now Michael Feast up on the inside line. Let's see if it's going to be a position, and does actually not try and dive in there. Actually very surprising for Michael Feast. He had the better drive, clearly just braking a little bit earlier. Sinclair Honey really late on the brakes, showing who's boss when it comes to the T1 braking zone, and maintaining that position and showing that the defense here is absolutely king. There's loads of overtaking opportunities at Monza, which means your defense has to be on high alert, and that's exactly what you're seeing. So people like Richard van Heerden would strive at tracks like Monza. He's racing in the Pro Division. That's also a good reminder, folks. If you are interested, there is currently 2 streams up for tonight, like we usually have. The Pro Division stream is being streamed on the same channel here at RaceFace.Pro with our fellow commentator, Stephen Koenig. And he's also doing an incredible job there, showcasing what the pros are doing around here for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship for Season 21. This is Race 2. And doing an incredible job is everybody still spending around track. Michael Fisto is all over the back of that BMW, just trying to find the gap around the Project Vapor. The Project Vapor is known for very good defensive skill as well, And, oh, Michael Fies getting very unsettled over the final curb over there of Ascari, almost actually losing the car into the wall. He has to be careful about that one. But now Mike LaRue is a very good amount of time ahead of Herman Percival. 5.8 seconds of a gap. He's really got good breathing room, but so does Herman Percival. 2 seconds to Martin Rautenbach. And further on behind, Jean de Toit is struggling to catch up because he's got a massive blue Mustang in his rear view mirrors who is opposing a massive threat to him. So he's trying his hardest to keep up with Rautenbach in third. But Sean Loureiro is not making that an easy task whatsoever. Keeping it very lit up on the back of that Lamborghini. Further back though is the McLaren of Ron van der Walt. Potentially might want to catch up to the likes of Sean Loureiro and help his teammate out just in front. Both the Pandastic drivers could play a team stretch here on the Mustang, but he's going to have to catch up fair and square before they can make any form of moves. Though Lawrence Badenhorst is starting to creep up on Michael Fies, not getting the position done on Sinclair Honey, who's now increasing the gap almost a second between them, as he's really got some good defensive skills up in his pocket. But Wessel Voda also really just trying to keep on to the back of the likes of Kyle Henderson. 3 seconds gap currently. Kyle Henderson also putting on the pressure to Alex Petro. And Alex Petro catching up to the Treehouse Works racing train over here, just on the back of Conrad Martin. And followed by Conrad Martin is Anton Lammers and Lawrence Badenhorst. So it seems like they've swapped positions between the team here. Conrad Martin was leading the train, followed by Lawrence Badenhorst, and then likes of Anton Lammers. So a little bit of a switch around for them, as they've all migrated to different spots in their little train here. The battle for 10th is definitely on. Actually, the battle for 9th, as Sinclair Honey is really not pulling away, but he is defending from Michael Fies. So we'll have to see how it goes though. But Harry Duplessis a little bit further down in 19th, now on the back of Chantal Hansen. This could also potentially be an overtake. And just behind him is the start of our single pit stoppers needing to be done. And that's Cara Pretorius in the Griffin Sim Racing, the beautiful pink car. Only one pit stop left to go. So from him all the way down to Rob van der Heever. Unfortunately not Francois Berta after getting those numerous penalties. And Chris Collison, now the only driver on track. No pit stops left to go. He's decided to opt in early and potentially staying on the same tyre set now for 54 minutes. It's a bit longer than your traditional sprint race. And if he maintains it well, he could be seeing himself on the same set of tyres from start to finish. David van Beek though, a little bit further behind, will catch up to Sheldon Aguilas very quickly though. He's a back marker currently. David van Beek is very, very happy right now, I'm assuming, up to the top 10, almost top 5, chasing down Ron van der Walt a little bit further ahead. He is 3.5 seconds off though, so he is going to have to try and catch up that time. Johan Verveers is further behind him, and Rob van der Heever in a bit of a train here in the middle of him and Jean de Toit, who has really lost out. Jean de Toit was sitting up in 4th position, now down into 8th, so a little bit of a mistake coming from him, unfortunately. And as I do see, there was an accident between our number 23 and our number 77. If we go have a look at them, that was our number 23 of Sean Loureiro, and number 77 being the likes of Jean de Toit. So that could have potentially been the accident that happened. Jean de Toit definitely lost out over there. That was a while ago that this accident happened though, so it won't be able to flash back. But that is exactly why you see Jean de Toit very far off currently. Sean Loureiro and him had a little bit of contact. The GSRT driver is almost breaking into the podiums now, chasing down on Martin Rautenbach. He does have Ron van der Walt behind, so yep, exactly what I was mentioning. The team play could have happened, but now there's no more Jean de Toit in front of Sean Loureiro. So having a little bit of contact between the two, and as you can see just at the back of the main straight there was the likes of Jean de Toit trying to chase down and catch back up to where he was. Sinclair Honey though will also use this to catch up a little bit. He's now got Lawrence Badenhorst as he's made the overtake on Michael Fies. So now Michael Fies is in the middle of the train for the Treehouse Works racing team over here, and actually again almost overshooting his braking there for turn 1, taking it very late and very wide. That's opened up his vulnerability though now to Anton Lammers, who has the better drive out of the corner. This could potentially be an overtake into the second chicane here at Monza. Looking around the outside, Anton Lammers, I don't think it's going to be enough to make the overtake stick, but he's definitely going to be on the back of that Ferrari now for quite some time, unless he can begin to shake off Michael Fies. Just behind him, Anton Lammers is not going to let off that pressure. The McLaren driver, the red McLaren, is going to continue to put on pressure. He's got his teammate behind him as well, so he can generate a bit of a gap to allow for some fighting in front here with Michael Fies. Alex Petro, though, on the back of Conrad Martin, who's just a little bit further behind the train of Lawrence Badenhorst and Anton Lammers. So loads of them in a big pack of fight over here. And looks like Vessel Voda has really started to catch up now. Not far off of Kyle Henderson at all. Kyle Henderson just a little bit further in front. So the battle for 13th is on here. You can see the train of 4 cars coming down towards Ascari. But everybody else still keeping it nice and clean. Neil Swartz, one of the first Lamborghinis there of the Pandasti Infiltrate team, deciding to pull it in and get that first pit stop done. So now with 50 minutes left to go, only one pit stop left. One thing to note though, Neil Swartz's pit stop was very quick when we saw him coming out of the pit lane. He could have potentially done his flash and dash now, and might still be doing his relatively longer fuel up pit stop a little bit further down towards the line. So we'll have to see how that does turn out for him, because playing the longer pit stop towards your last leg end will start to lose you some positions. Most of the people around track here will keep that splash and dash towards the end, so that they have the least amount of pit stops at the end when it absolutely crucially matters to get those overtakes in just before the end of the line. So now Neil Swartz will have to think about that one. But it could also be the case of we just swapped to him at the perfect time of coming out. He could have done a full pit stop and it looked like a fast pit stop. But now David van Beek in 6, chasing down Sheldon Aguilas. The back, just in a back mark, you can see the blue flag being waved, but David not catching up just as much as he would like to. But like we mentioned, Sheldon Aguilas isn't there at the back because of incidents. He's there at the back because he's already done one of his pit stops. So that's exactly why you see the blue flag is not crucial in terms of Sheldon Aguilas being an extremely slow driver behind, just in front of David van Beek, but actually just a driver who's performing a bit of an undercut strategy here. So David van Beek can make it past him, but he's going to have to do it a more genuine way instead of just being waved past by the stewards around track. So we'll have to see how it turns out for them. He is closing in though on Aguilas in the older 488 Evo, and we're going to have to see coming around Parabolica. It does look like Aguilas has lost a bit of traction there, and he's given the inside line to David van Beek, who will now carry a little bit more speed in the McLaren down the back straight. And I believe both of them basically equally matched on top speed and acceleration. Sheldon Aguilas actually having a slightly better pull there in the older Ferrari, but David van Beek having the inside line, chips in front and makes the position possible, and overtake complete without any form of contact. Mike LaRue just setting the fastest lap time of the session, 1:47.1. Not last lap, but a couple of laps prior, and that was an incredibly fast lap time for him. He is absolutely blazing around track here. 6.6 second gap to Herman Percival in second, so we'll have to see how it does go for these guys. Martin Radenbach is closing off our podium though. He's going to be super stoked about that one in third, and Sean Herrera a little bit further, still chasing down the comeback king in fourth for GSRT. Ron van der Walt is rolling up behind him though. He's wanting to get closer and closer after he's made contact with Jarno de Toit, his teammate. But David van Beek also creeping in just as close as he can. But now Aguilas behind might start to put pressure. Even though he's a back marker, he is allowed to push on as hard as he can. He's still got a full race left. 47 minutes, we're almost at sprint race distance, and then we'll go through our running order as a stand. Ulrich Diacher into the pit lane, as well as Alex Petro, as well as the likes of Rudenberg's been there for a while. He's just decided to stay in for the PDCY Black team. But now Alex Petro out of his pit stop now, actually cutting across the pit line there. That was almost illegal, cutting across just at the last moment over there. He has to try and stay in that solid line up until the end of the solid line disappearing, but thankfully nobody around him, so no conflict caused there or potential danger, so he should be fine. I don't think the stewards will penalize him for that one. Heinz Meyerberg is a little bit further in front of him. The Team Tryhard BMW driver is still wrapping around track in his BMW. Best of a 1:48.7 currently, and he's also just enjoying his time on the grid. Jaco Nordier a little bit further on in front of him for the KSR Force team, and he's putting an immense amount of pressure on Henk Petersen coming into Ascari, who will have the better exit run of here. It all depends on how you take it. Dipping your right tires into that divot of the curbs to try and get that car to keep on that rotation line. Otherwise, you will steer too far left over the exit curve and that's when you see a little bit of contact coming on towards the back straight by Parabolica, where cars begin to bounce out of control. It's the last thing you want to see, though, as Henk Pieterse still wrapping it around just in front of Yakunodia, who is going to begin to put a lot of pressure. David van Wyk in 6th position and still holding on tightly. He does have Johan Viviers a little bit further behind, but Johan Viviers will have to make the overtake on Sheldon Agula, so it's not going to be a completely easy overtake, and then we'll still need to catch up on the gap, and Jono de Toit is wanting to also get back up to the top there before the end of this race. 46 minutes left. We've got 1 minute left before our sprint race territory kicks in, and then we'll see how this all unfolds. But currently, loads of drivers from Mike LaRue essentially all the way down to Chantal Hansen, excluding the likes of Garrett Pretorius, needing to do their first pit stop. So everybody else already first pit stop complete around the grid. So the undercutters might have the advantage going on here, according to how many people are going to have to pull their cars in to get that first pit stop done. And then still on top of that, a second pit stop needing to be done before the end of this race. And remember, there is no more pit window being administered here, which means you could technically get a pit stop done with 2 minutes left of racing, depending on your strategy choice. So if, it comes down to that, you've forgotten to pit, or you crucially need to put for whatever reason, some form of damage, towards the final stints of the race of year, it is now possible due to that pit window being collapsed. But ladies and gentlemen, 3, 2, 1, and welcome to sprint race territory here. So territory over here, 45 minutes left of racing, and Mike LaRue sits in pole position. The number 513 Ford Mustang rolls it around track for the Venomworks 2025 team. Homer Percival, the Apex Titans Racing FCK Kansas team, number 44, is rolling around in second. Third, Martin Randbach, the number 465 Kinetic Simworks Racing Force BMW driver, followed by him, number 99, Rowan van der Walt in the Panda McLaren. David van Wyk, the number 17 McLaren, is also rolling around track. Johan Viviers a little bit further behind him. The Trail Bullets, number 48 Ferrari. Jean-Pierre Toit further behind him. The Lamborghini number 77 Pandas, the Infiltrate. Lawrence Badenhorst in 8th. The number 28 Treehouse Works Green Racing McLaren. Anton Lammers in 9th. The number 149 Treehouse Works Racing, the red McLaren, followed by Michael Feast, the PWSR Charlie number 65 Ferrari. Sinclair Honey Project Vapors number 33 BMW in 11th position. Conrad Martin Treehouse Works Racing's number 163 in 12th. That's also one of the red McLarens. Jonathan Chislett, the number 996 Lamborghini in 13th position, followed by Garrett Pretorius. Griffin Sim Racing's number 72 in 14th. The Ferrari. Kyle Henderson in the Henderson GT number 15 McLaren, also warping around track. He's actually rocking the traditional McLaren colors of 2000s F1. I've actually only noticed that now, and that is one flipping cool livery. Must admit, Kyle Henderson, throwback to the past, and that's really cool. Neil Swartz, the Pandasti Infiltrate number 32 Lamborghini, down in 16. Jason Landsberg is behind him for the Jason 619 Aston Martin in 17. Jean-Ray Buerta for the Team Karugma Racing number 153 in 18th position. Followed by him is Henk Pieterse for the Trail Bullets number 73, number 19. Number 73 Ferrari in 19th. Yaku Nordia, the KSR Force number 38 in 20th position. Sean Herrera, after completing his pit stop for the GSRT number 23 Ford Mustang, down to 21st position. Hansi Myberg, the Team Tryhard Racing number 526 in 22nd position. Alex Petro, the Alley Cat number 22, down in 23rd position. Carrie Duplessis in the Grammadillos Racing number 122, 24th position. The Ferrari keeps on sending around circuit. Chantal Hansen, the Venomworks X 2025 number 217 Mustang, down in 25th position. Sheldon Agulas in the Game Over number 3 Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo in 26th position. Vessel Voda is down in 27. The Grammadillos Racing number 133. Ulrich Diaker, Griffin Sim Racing number 3. The number 75 are on track, currently in 28th position. Francois Bertha, still 2 pit stops left to go for the Plugskade Marlboro number 111 McLaren, down in 29th position. Chris Colleton, one of the few drivers with no pit stops left to go. The Stinger Racing number 222 in 30th position for the Ford Mustang driver. And then rolling off our currently driving grid is Rob van der Heever in the GSRT number 51 Ferrari, currently patrolling around track in 31st position. And then Rowan Liebenberg will close off our current grid in session, but unfortunately for him, it is been out of this race for more than 20 laps now. But currently coming into the pit lane, David van Wyk serves his first pit stop. Jean de Toit comes in with him. Lawrence Badenhorst comes in as well. Same with Mike LaRue, our race leader, comes into the pit lane as well. So we'll have to see how it turns out for all of them. You can see the positions are dropping for all of them as they get those pit stops done. Kyle Henderson stays out on track with 2 pit stops left to go. So does Jonathan Chislett, as well as Sinclair Honey and Michael Feast. And now our provisional leader, Martin Rautenbach, who hasn't pitted, is now up into first position, getting a good amount of clean air. That looks like one of the back markers just in front of him. Rob van der Heever is coming around track, and Francois Buerta still trying to hold on as long as he can. 2 pit stops left to go, and Martin Rautenbach is feeling a little bit of confidence build up here. First place is the title next to his car as he sends it around track. He does still have his 2 mandatories left to go. So does Michael Feast in the PWSR Charlie, and Sinclair Honey for the Project Vapor, as well as Conrad Martin and Jonathan Chislett and Kyle Henderson in 7th, needing to complete 2 pit stops. The rest of the grid, other than Francois Buerta, all down to 1 pit stop left to go. This is now the battle of undercut versus overcut. We've got the likes of around about 6 drivers versus the rest of the grid fighting for that undercut versus overcut. So we'll have to see how that turns out for all of them. Ron van der Walt for the Panda McLaren, still sending her on track. Mike LaRue is down to 19th though. Still holding the fastest lap of the session, but no pit stops left to go. So Mike LaRue, performing a double pit stop stint in that time frame, is now down into 22nd, but he is the leading no pit stop driver left on track. He's got pressure though from the likes of Rob van der Heever, who's down in 31st position. Rob van der Heever, also no pit stops left to go, but it looks like he is around about a lap down from Mike LaRue, as all of them, lots and lots of gap between them. Chantal Hansen comes in to serve her final pit stop, and we'll see where she comes out. Sheldon Aguilas is also in to serve that final pit stop. Francois Buerta in to serve his first pit stop. So lots and lots of changes coming into play over here. David van Wyk going out to serve his first pit stop. No, that's sorry, that was his outlap. Lawrence Badenhorst in to serve his final pit stop. Jean Viviers in to serve his second, and Neil Swartz in to serve his final. Kyle Henderson in to serve his first pit stop. Jonathan Chislett coming out with 1 pit stop left to go as well. Conrad Martin into the pit to serve his first pit stop. So lots and lots of changes on the grid in terms of drivers swapping around to get those pit stops done. But currently Martin Rautenbach still holding out on track with 2 pit stops left to go. Will it be the pit now to get that car into the pit lane and get anything sorted on the car that he might need to? He is indeed going in. So Martin Rautenbach coming in to serve his first pit stop. Will Michael Feast serve his first pit stop, or will he stay out? Same with the likes of Sinclair Honey. Both of them have got immense amount of pressure on each other, pushing on up until the final moments over here. 38 minutes left of racing, and then that is it for round 2 here at Monza. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But Martin Rautenbach is going to lose out to the drivers behind him. Will Michael Feast come in to serve his first pit stop, or is he staying out? He's staying out. Is Sinclair Honey staying out? He's also staying out. So the 2 of them, the only 2 drivers left on circuit with 2 pit stops left, the 2 overcutters, and we'll see how that plays out for them, if that's going to be a huge positive or if it's going to be a negative. We could experience both here, and that is the small secrets that you don't identify in GT3 racing. Apologies about the slight lag on stream there, folks. I'm just really pulling up our season calendar just to confirm with all of you where we will be racing next week for round 3. So we've gone through Donington Park for round 1. We've been at Monza for round 2. Next week, though, we head to another Italian circuit here in Misano. So Misano, a track that also hasn't been driven in quite a while here for RaceFace.Pro, welcoming back onto the calendar for round 3. So also a super technical circuit with lots of corners, but also lots of good straights for some of your faster top speed cars to gain their advantage. Martin Rautenbach comes out in 4th. He's completed his pit stop, like we mentioned. Sinclair Honey and Michael Feast, the only 2 drivers left to go with 2 pit stops. We'll have to see where they come out. Carrot Pretorius is coming out of the pit lane and he's just finished off his final pit stop of the session. He's probably going to come out towards Mike LaRue. They were fighting with each other, the likes of Herman Percival, Mike LaRue, and Gerard Pretorius. Where does he come out? Just behind Herman Percival. As you can see, Herman Percival did indeed get the undercut strategy in there and has come out ahead of Gerard Pretorius. Unfortunately, the overcut not working out to plan, and a little bit better fresher air for Herman Percival. He potentially got the slipstream on some other drivers, but the Honda just finding its groove around track. This will be good for him once everybody ahead of him begins to get those pit stops in and out. Now currently Alex Pitro in to serve his final pit stop. That's a great thing to see, everybody getting in those final pit stops. Kyle Henderson as well as Vessel Voda, still one pit stop left to go for them. But Michael Feast, when are these two going to pull into the pit lane? Currently the two most extreme overcutters of Monza over here, with 2 pit stops left to go, with 35 minutes left of racing. Like we mentioned, there is no pit window, so they've got a lot of time to decide what they want to do, potentially having a much more relaxed drive for both of these guys, and a little bit less wear on the tires and brakes. So we'll have to see. Maybe they're having a really good time, and the car is seriously not throwing them into any form of shallow pond and showing them unreasonable amounts of tire wear, as they're currently still setting relatively regular lap times. Actually stand corrected there, unfortunately. So both Sinclair Honey and Michael Feast very far off of their best, and Sinclair Honey currently his best 148.9, his last a 149.3. That's not too much of a bad drop off, but Michael Feast, his best is a 148.1, the last was a 149.1. So currently setting a second a lap slower compared to some of his best times he set early on in the session. I would say it's around about time to potentially get that car up into the pit lane and get it finished, get those pit stops finished and done for before the car begins to become a little bit too unstable. So we'll have to see how it does pull out for him, as still standing around track is Sinclair Honey chasing him down. Will it be a pit stop for either one of the two drivers over here? I can see Michael Feast is taking the inside line. He's coming in, but Sinclair Honey stays out. He is the only driver left on track with 2 pit stops left to go. So he's going to be feeling the pressure from the race leaders when he comes out to serve both of those pit stops. Now chasing down some of the back markers. He is going to get stuck a bit in this back air. In the back marker air, the dirty air is definitely going to slow him down, so we'll have to see how that goes on. But further down, Jonathan Chislett still following through and still pursuing on for the Lamborghini in 7th position. 1 pit stop left to go though. But Mike LaRue, our provisional race leader, is sitting in 10th position. No pit stops left to go. The Venomworks driver just needs to keep his head down now, focused in and ultra locked on to getting this race done. Half an hour roundabout or so left to go for this race. We'll have to see how it does end up for him, as currently he is provisional pole. Herman Percival not too much further on behind him, about 10 or so seconds of a gap. But if something does happen to Mike LaRue, potentially a little bit too much of a mistake happening, he could be caught up by Herman Percival and the likes of Gerard Pretorius. So these two fighting for provisional P2 and P3, but Mike LaRue will pull away. Herman Percival though does have a good amount of gap on Gerard Pretorius, so we'll see how that happens and how that all leans out. Doing an incredible job though. Everybody is maintaining relatively good lap times. We haven't seen too much of a bad drop off for most of our drivers. Sinclair Honey, last lap time of 149 flat, so he's really not doing bad compared to his best. Setting reasonably similar lap times though to Michael Feast. You can see just starting to not find the grip on that BMW, and stays out still with 32 minutes left to go, with 2 pit stops needing to be done. The only driver now, I believe Francois Berta, has gotten those pit stops done. He's only got 1 left, and Rodenberg is no longer in this race. So Sinclair Honey, the only driver out on track currently, with 2 pit stops left to go. So we'll have to see how it does turn out for him. This could be a potentially a very good overcut if all goes well and the drivers behind him get stuck in huge amounts of traffic, or it could work out the other way. Unfortunately, it can work the same way. He gets stuck in numerous piles of traffic from our back markers over here, and then he just gets caught up by all of our undercuts behind him and our regular pit stoppers, while he attempts to perform the late pit stop maneuver. But now Ron van der Walt from 5th is going to drop down. The number 99 McLaren is into the pit lane to serve his final pit stop. We'll have to see where he comes out. Jonathan Chislett stays out. So does Jean de Toit. And Harry Duplessis is just on the back of Michael Leroux now. He's just lost out on the position, but now he can use Michael Leroux, the faster driver, as a bit of an air tunnel and sitting behind the Mustang, following his lines and potentially getting us a little bit of a better lap time. You know what they say about following a better driver is that you're going to get better lap times if you follow them directly. Obviously, it might be different because it's Ferrari versus Mustang, a little bit of different lines between these two cars, but still relatively same performance, still both in the GT3 class, and so the racing is fairly even, especially from our BOP applied from LFM. It does indeed make the racing quite close, as all cars are relatively equal in performance. That's what they say. Some cars will still have their quirks and a little bit of advantages and disadvantages, but that all falls under the category of racing, where some cars will be naturally better in certain scenarios, especially with the track rotation coming into play. It's not just one constant track being raced, it is a multitude of tracks. So drivers choosing their cars will have to choose a car which they think will be best for the season, not for one race in particular, but a good car that they can wrap around for a full season. For example, choosing a Lexus for a Nürburgring 24-hour would be an absolutely great choice. Why? Because a Lexus has got a great amount of top speed because of it having a slightly older body frame and a little bit less downforce on the car. It is not the greatest in cornering compared to our newer age GT3s, but the 2016 car has got an immense amount of top speed pace with the 5.2 liter V8 in front. So naturally it will be better at setting a great lap time around a massive circuit with huge straights such as the Nürburgring 24-hour. But due to track rotation, it does make racing fair. For example, pulling that car, the Lexus, onto a track like Donington or Zolder, where there's a multitude of turns that are technical and can become very understeery for certain cars, it will drop off an immense amount of pace just due to the fact that cornering is a major part of racing. It's not all just about how fast you can go straight, it's also about how fast you can go while making rigorous amounts of turns and making sure your car stays in a good flow of rhythm. But still, Sinclair Honey, this man is pulling the risks here with a huge overcut strategy, in first currently with 2 pit stops left to go still. And now Jonathan Chislett comes in to serve his final pit stop of this race. Sitting in, as you can see, it might be a potentially very fast pit stop there. It's a splash and dash for him. Sinclair Honey stays out still with 28 minutes left of racing. Jean-Ray Bourtano is now into second with 1 pit stop left to go. Jean-Ray Bourtano, the first person on track to get that pit stop number 1 done. So now holding on to the second one until he feels he really needs to pull the car in and have a bit of a break to have a quick breather in the relatively short pit lane here at Monza, also staying out. And remember folks, if you don't finish or manage your pit stops when the race finish comes, that's going to be a huge 160-second time penalty applied to your final time if you don't get your mandatory pit stops done. So make sure you get them done. Don't try and keep it all the way up until the end. It's definitely good to strategize and try and hold on as long as you can, or dive in as soon as you can, but don't leave it up until it's no longer safe. That will just run risk and also run stress for yourself, as the grid will begin to eat you back up and you will still have numerous amounts of pit stops to do. Antti Marburg is currently sitting in 24th. A little bit further behind him is Jonathan Chislett. Conrad Martin is a bit further in front of him. David van Beek has actually lost out quite a bit, down to 22nd position after getting those pit stops done. There's not a lot of drivers left on this track to complete pit stops. Sean Loureiro gets a drive-through penalty. That's not going to be one that he's looking forward to. He was doing an incredibly well job up in 4th position, and that's really going to set him back. Actually I wonder if something happened to David van Beek, because he should not be so far down the list. He was fighting a little bit further back up towards the grid with Ron van der Walt up in 11th or so. Now he's down to 22nd. So not too sure if he messed up with something in the pit lane or if he had a huge amount of damage from a possible spin-off, but he is currently holding out, just trying his absolute best to maintain his grid position and not lose out too much time over here. And like we mentioned, David van Beek, his second race here with RaceFace, and still doing an incredible job to keep at it strong. One thing I just noticed about ACC, for some reason David van Veek has got Michael Fies locked on his mirrors. That's a little bit weird. So mirrors are not actually moving static. If you notice, his mirrors have just got a yellow car highlighted in the mirror. So we'll have to see how that does turn out for them. But further on and up towards the top, Carrot Pretorius is still fighting on with Herman Percival. The two pink cars are really trying to put on the challenge of who will take the crown here at the end of this race. So we'll have to see how it does turn out. But 26 minutes left of racing, almost 25 minutes left. And this is where it starts to get close. You've got 20 minutes left, and all that you've got left with you is your fuel and the tires that you've got set on the car. There's no more going back to get in that pit lane to change anything on that car. If you get damaged this late in the race with no pit stops left to go, that is going to be catastrophic for yourself. You're going to have to possibly pull in if the damage is too high, and you will lose out majorly. But still, Sinclair Honey is still sitting in first position. 25 minutes left to go, and 2 mandatory stops left to go. Jean-Roberta is trailing on behind him, 22 seconds of a gap, and he will begin to slowly catch, though. Martin Rodenbach is just a bit further, and wow, I mean, Jean-Roberta has really pulled a good undercut to be just in front of the likes of Martin Rodenbach. Where has Sean Herrera come out? Oh wow, Sean Herrera really hasn't lost out all too much. Finishing that drive-through, comes out still in 6th, so 10th. Still in the top 10 even after a drive-through. That's an incredible a bit of portion of information there for him. I mean, thankfully, I would have thought he would have dropped well out of the top 15, potentially even down towards 16th, 17th. But he is still trailing on hard in the top 10. But now Kyle Henderson comes in to serve his final pit stop. It's just Wessel Voda left in this mid-pack who needs to get those pit stops done. Michael Fies also needing to get that pit stop served. But Mike LaRue is currently chasing down the drivers ahead with 1 pit stop left to go. He's 6 seconds behind Johnny Detroit, and he's got no pit stops left to go. So Mike LaRue really showing that grid dominance there in the Venomworks 2025. And I'm already starting to see a pattern here. If he continues like this, we're already seeing our Pro-Am champion here for 2021 of the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship, as he is really holding out as strong as he can over here. I mean, man, Mike LaRue also last week, incredible drive from him, pulling first, quite easy of a margin, and now once again almost sitting first over and over time over here. It's only round 2 though. We still have 6 rounds after this of racing, but this could potentially go on to a continuous streak of winning over here. And you know what they say, 8 wins in a row, and that's a lucky duck. So we might be seeing something for Mike LaRue over here if he keeps up this consistency. But he does have challenging rivals around him. We know from last time, Sean Herrera posed as a threat, as well as Herman Percival also posed as a real threat in last week's race. So lots of people are already beginning to make rivals coming into round 2 over here, but those rivals will begin to form even more in detail as more races go along. Wessel Voda, though, still sitting with 1 pit stop left to go. Also commending him as the only Merc driver out on grid, a car similar to the Audi, which is one of my favorite cars in the game, which does not get picked that much anymore just due to their aging. They're no longer as easy to drive and as competitive as some of your easier cars out here. Your Ferrari is practically a tricycle to drive just due to the new TC system it comes with. You can almost hold flat on most of your corners with the Ferrari 296. The cars such as the McLaren, you know, you're gonna play a little bit more with the car. It's a little bit more of a tricky one. You run relatively low TC, and you're going to really need to fight it going into most corners. So it is not really a car that gets picked that much. It does have a whole heap of power under that massive hood in front of the car, but it is a whole heap of power that has to be controlled properly. Otherwise, you might see that heap of power in the end of the wall. So not a lot of drivers picking it. Same with the Audi. The Audi, a really strong car, really good braking on that car. And with the massive V10 engine in it, it's also got some great top speed. But unfortunately, the Audi, also one of your very difficult cars to control. Lots of over rotation coming in from the Audi, and it does tend to have a very creative rear end, almost to the point how it acts like a rear engine Porsche, but in a very weird way that it's slightly more uncontrollable. So that's why you don't see cars like the Audi that much on track. It's referred to as one of the harder GT3 cars to drive. And also another GT3 that's also relatively difficult and classified as hard to drive is our Honda The Honda NSX also a very weird balance on the car. It does also cause it to have relatively weird rear end slip outs if you aren't used to how this car drives. So some drivers, for example Herman Percival and Christoph Peterson, who have driven it in the past, have extremely good performance in this Honda. They really know what they're doing. They know how the car reacts. Others, myself included, it's quite a roller coaster of a car to drive. It has a very creative back end, just like the Audi, but it does have one of the fastest accelerations in the game for a GT3 class car. That's why coming out of a corner with a Honda, you're going to catch somebody. It's incredibly fast, but it does suffer then on the back straights and your main straights. Its top speed is slightly redundant, but still a very competitive car nonetheless. You just have to know how to drive it though. And currently Jean-Ray Buerta is in a fight now. Martin Rodenbach is looking on the outside line. Jean-Ray Buerta goes up on the inside and holds him off. The Porsche will have the better rotation here, but it's side by side. Martin Rodenbach has got the line. Will he give space though? And almost looking like he didn't there, but gets in front of Jean-Ray Buerta. Very competitive and aggressive. Elbows out racing going on here. The battle for third is definitely on as Rodenbach gets up into second. Sorry, the battle for second just passing Jean-Ray Buerta, but as mentioned, they still need to pit. So all this fighting for position might not be worth it come the end of this race. Mike LaRue is slowly but surely catching up to Jean-Ray Detroit, who's back up into fourth, but still one pit stop left to go. It would be incredibly interesting if this is what our grid looked like with no pit stops left to go between the top 10. That would be absolutely incredible, but unfortunately, most still needing to get those pit stops in and out of the way before the end of this race. Just clocking up to 20 minutes left now of this race. And so far, it's been one of absolute note. It's been incredible to watch some of these drivers push it around the Italian track here of Monza. And next week, like we mentioned, again, another Italian track. Dominating the grid over here is Misano. Also a very technical circuit, like we did mention previously. So it's going to be a good one to watch out for. And we'll have to see how it does go. Ruben Liebenberg saying go, 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 go to the number 99. I believe that might be his teammate of Ron van der Walt, who's still holding on and pursuing around track. He does have his teammate of Neil Swartz behind him in the Pandacity car, and both of them boasting that very nice looking black and purple pink mix. So lots of vibrant colored cars we're seeing here for season 21. Nobody has gone short for livery creation. Also, the Venomworks guys, very aggressive looking purple cars. And so love to see the color combos on track. And we'll have to see how it does come out towards the end of the season. A couple of drivers like you've seen with the likes of him and Percival and creating liveries mid-season. For example, the FCK Cancer car, the Cancer Awareness Apex Titans racing car. Very, very beautiful design, and also going forward towards a good cause. Sinclair Honey finally comes out of the pit lane, and he's just come out behind the likes of Jean-Ray Detroit, taking fourth position, and he's going to be just in front of Mike LaRue. But remember, still one pit stop left to go for Sinclair Honey. Mike LaRue, no pit stop left to go for him. Everybody in front of him that he has to catch only needs to get in that pit stop and possibly serve a splash and dash and get out of there. Mike LaRue, no need for that unless the event of a drive-through or some form of penalty. But hey, I'm staying quiet. We're not going to be causing any form of commentator's curse here, which seems quite frequent and common throughout RaceFace. We've seen it in previous seasons with 18 minutes left. I definitely don't want to be the burden of a commentator's curse, especially for people who are fighting for championships already this early into the championship year for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship, our main racing calendar year for ACC, and looking to be an incredible one as well. Martin Rodenbach, though, has gotten the lead from Jean-Ray Buerta, like we mentioned, and after Sinclair Honey made that pit stop, he's up into first position. 2-second gap between him and Jean-Ray Buerta. Jean-Ray Detroit will trail on behind him for the Pandacity Infiltrate car, and actually a little bit of damage on front of that car. Jean-Ray Detroit, I believe he's still carrying the damage from the contact he had with Sean Herrero. And he's actually got Sean Herrero just a little bit creeping on further behind him. That's Mike LaRue, sorry, and then Sean Herrero down in 6th position, creeping up on Mike LaRue. And also, Sean Herrero, I must say, his car almost looks like it's carrying lightning bolts down the track here at Monza. It's a very creative and very cool livery there from GSRT. And looking incredible, showing the Mustang's power around track. Almost like a Zeus-style livery. So, definitely dig it. So now everybody's still up from Martin Rodenbach, Jean-Ray Detroit, and the likes of Jean-Ray Detroit, like we mentioned, Sean likes of Sinclair Honey, Sean Loureiro, Harry Duplessis, and Michael Feast. Everybody needing to pit, but now Michael Feast side by side with Harry Duplessis. This is potentially an overtake on the outside line. Will it be enough runoff to make the position stick? It's not, though. Too wide, though, going into the corner. Who will hold it? A little bit ahead there for Michael Feast. Much later on the brakes, though, for Harry Duplessis. He holds that inside line and pulls away from the fellow Ferrari. Loads of incredible racing coming on here at RaceFace.Pro, but let's have a quick run through your grid once again, coming on to about 15 minutes left of your race. Martin Raderbach currently leads the number 465 Kinetic Simworks Racing Force driver in first position. Jean-Ray Buerta with the Team Karugma Racing number 153 Porsches in second, followed by Jean-Ray Du Toit, the Pandasti Infiltrate number 77 Lamborghini in third, Sinclair Honey Project Vapors number 33 BMW in fourth, followed by Sean Loureiro, Mike LaRue, the Venomworks 2025 number 513 Ford in fifth, followed by Sean Loureiro, the GSRT's number 23 Ford Mustang in sixth, Harry Duplessis, Gramadulas Racing's number 122 in seventh. He's got pressure from Michael Feast, the PWSR Ferrari number 65 in eighth, followed by Herman Percival, the Apex Titans Racing number 44 Honda in ninth position, and Ron van der Walt, the number 99 Panda in 10th position. Neil Swartz, the Pandasti Infiltrator number 32 in 11th position. Cara Pretorius, the Griffin Sim Racing number 72 Ferrari, now into 12th position. Jason Landsberg, the number, now just swapping around with Cara Pretorius, number 12, number 619 in 12th position. The number 619 Jason Aston Martin has just made the overtake up into 12th. 14th position, the Trail Bullets number 48 Ferrari of Johan Verveers. Lawrence Badenhorst, the Treehouse Works Racing's number 28 Green McLaren in 15th, followed by Jaco Nordier, the KSR Force number 38 McLaren in 16th position. Anton Lammers a little bit further behind, the Treehouse Works Racing number 149 McLaren in 17th. Ulrich Diacher, Griffin Sim Racing's number 75 in 18th position. That's the McLaren, followed by Henk Petersen, the Trail Bullets number 73 Ferrari in 19th position. David van Beek now crossing off the number 20 mark, number 17 McLaren just closing off the top 20. Conrad Martin, the Treehouse Works Racing's number 163 McLaren in 21st, followed by Hunty Myberg just a little bit further behind. Team Tryhard Racing number 526 in 22nd position. Alex Petro, the Alley Cat number 22, followed in 23rd position for the McLaren driver. Jonathan Chizet, the number 996 Lamborghini in 24th. Vessel Voda, the Gramadulas Racing number 133 in 25th position. Chris Collison, who's had a bit of a challenge there, making a very early pit stop. Now further down on the grid, the Stinger Racing number 222 Ford Mustang, and then followed by him is Chantal Hansen, Venomworks 2025's number 217 Ford Mustang in 27th. And Carl Henderson, the Henderson GT number 15 McLaren in the traditional McLaren colors in 28th position. Sheldon Aguilas in 29th for the Game Over number 3 Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo in 29th. Rob van der Heever in 30th position for the GSRT number 51 Ferrari. Oh, he's actually gone off track completely there, and he might be overtaken by the drivers from behind, but thankfully the only driver behind him is Francois Buerta. Further down, the Ploegskar Marlboro in the number 111 McLaren in 31st position, just trying to make it to the end of the race now. If you weren't here for the rest of the race, unfortunately, Francois Buerta got himself a drive-through penalty, and then coming out of the pits after serving that drive-through penalty, he got himself a stop-go 30 seconds for speeding out of the pit lane, which is a really unfortunate one to see, but it does sometimes happen. With all the pressure, the drivers are trying to keep as fast and hard as they can, and to not lose too much pace to the drivers ahead of them. Martin Rodenbach, though, is slowly getting chased on, though, by the likes of Jean-Ray Buerta and Jean-Ray Du Toit. Both of these drivers needing to get these pit stops complete. Otherwise, they are going to be under threat towards the end of this race. They're going to lose positions to all the drivers behind. Sinclair Honey, Harry Duplessis, and Michael Feast, all of them also needing to get it done. 6 drivers with pit stops left to go, and we'll have to see how it does end up for them. Only 6 now for the running of this race. Having a look at our track map, though, let's have a look. As you can see, there is a massive split all along this Monza circuit here, and not actually much position for fighting. You can see the number 111 of Francois Buerta does have the 513 behind him. Obviously, that's not for position. That is Mike LaRue closing in on him, though. And then further down on the pack there, you can see the number 17 of, I believe that is David van Veek. He's got a train behind him, Conrad Martin, as well as Hansi Myberg, catching up to him now. Coming on to the final parts of this race, 11 minutes left of racing before we hit the checkered flag. And so far, everybody looking like they're doing a stellar job. Currently a big fight between our 38 and 28, and that's Jaco Nordier and Lawrence Badenhorst, as they are also fighting each other up until the end of the line here, right directly behind each other. And this is the highlight fight of the 11-minute mark here for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship Season 21, Round 2 here at Monza. And just pushing on behind the green McLaren is another McLaren, and I believe that is a orange and white McLaren of the case, our Force team pushing on behind with 10 minutes left to go. Harry Duplessis jumps into the pit lane though to get his final pit stop done, and the rest of the drivers look like they're going to be holding on. That final pit stop will be done under the 10-minute mark. So by this time, in our usual ACC GT3 races, in our GT3 Championship where we have mandatory pit stops, every driver on circuit would have been done with their pit stops due to the pit window. Now, due to no pit window being administered, we've got drivers out here who still have pit stops left to do with 10 minutes left of racing here. This is where your pit window would usually close, but not in this case. So now a little bit more competition and strategy will come into play here as to how these cars will perform and play out. So currently 5 drivers left on this grid, needing to get pit stops complete before the end of this race. 10-minute mark is approaching in 3 seconds, and then we head on for a very quick sprint towards the end of the line. 9 minutes and 59 seconds left. We've gone under the double-digit category and into the skies of under 10 minutes. So we'll have to see how it all affects these drivers as it comes around for the final few times here. 9 minutes translates to just about, if you're looking at everybody doing around 147s, 148s around about, almost 2 minutes a lap. And that's about just about 6 to 7 laps of racing left for these drivers. It would be just about 7 for our faster drivers, 6 for the slightly slower, who will be finishing 1 lap down and who have already been lapped coming to the end of this race. But Martin Radbach and Jean Roberta and Jean Detroit, as well as Sinclair Honey and Michael Feast, the eyes are all on you guys to see when you're going to declare these pit stops complete. Now you can see Michael Feast under pressure from Herman Percival, and he no longer has a pit stop needing to be run. Where is Sinclair Honey? He's a little bit further up though, already chasing on to the back of some of the back markers. So Michael Feast has lost out on that fight. He's already fallen back into the grips of Herman Percival. And this is for position here, except for the fact that Michael Feast still has 1 pit stop left to go before the end of this race. Herman Percival, all of his pit stops done a long time in advance and getting that undercut going very good and deep. But we'll have to see how it is going to turn out for the likes of Michael Feast. He's already getting the pressure placed on here by the slightly faster driver of Herman Percival. And with 8 minutes left to go, he doesn't have that much time to think about defense because he still has those pit stops left to go. Jean Roberta into the pit lane for his final time here of this session for round 2. And we'll have to see where he comes out. Comes into the pit lane at second. Is it going to be a long or is it going to be a splash and dash pit stop? We'll be with him for just about 5 to 10 seconds just to see what it's going to be. Stops in his pit box. Goes up on the jacks. Is it going to be a quick pit stop for him? If we see him go off the jacks in the next 5 seconds, it's quick. Otherwise, this is a long pit stop. There we go. Relatively very quick pit stop from him. Definitely a splash and dash there for the likes of Jean Roberta. Will he keep top 10 after performing that immense undercut? And it looks like he is top 5 currently for Jean Roberta. He'll keep that gap. Oh, just coming down though is Michael Feast and Herman Percival. And it's going to be coming down to the line. Herman Percival and Michael Feast just getting past Jean Roberta, not having the speed though. But for the likes of Jean Roberta, he knows that Michael Feast still has to pit. His opponent now for fighting is going to be Herman Percival. He does have Ron van der Walt behind him though. Herman Percival is going to create that gap. He is going to create that gap though between the likes of him and Jean Roberta. But now Ron van der Walt will be on the back of Jean Roberta. He's just come out ahead of him. And Jean Roberta was trying to catch up to Herman Percival. Herman Percival now ahead of Michael Feast. So now a couple of the one stop left have been split into two by Michael LaRue and Herman Percival. And Martin Rautenbach, 39 laps. And here we go, finally pulling in to complete his final pit stop. Also, probably going to be a splash and dash. I'm hoping so. If it's a full pit stop, he is unfortunately going to lose out a lot of time around circuit here. So let's see what happens for the Kinetic Simworks Racing Force number 465 car. Jean du Toit is coming around Parabolica. We're waiting to see if he's going to pull in for his final pit stop. Same with Sinclair Honey and Michael Feast. Guys, it's about time to come into the pit lane. 6 minutes left to go. Martin Rautenbach, extremely quick pit stop. I didn't even get it on the camera, and he's already out on track. Jean du Toit has stayed out though, but you can see Mike LaRue is creeping up just further on behind him. Sinclair Honey stays out. Where is Michael Feast going to go? Coming around Parabolica, just behind the likes of Herman Percival. Is he going to come into the pits? He is on the inside line and coming into the pits. Not coming into the pits. Oh, baiting the commentator there, Michael Feast. Holding the inside line there, but not going in. Stays out to continue fighting with Herman Percival. He potentially sees a bit of a good speed increase here, sitting behind the faster driver. And with 5 minutes left to go, this could be crucial for where he comes out, especially because the rest of the grid has already formed after those pit stops. And so it's just him left now in this mini fight. Sinclair Honey is a little bit further up ahead, but he's technically not in that fight with him. So now Jean du Toit is in first, but the race leader is just behind him with no pit stop left to go. Mike LaRue has shown some incredible pace here tonight for the VenomWorks 2025 driving team. Martin Rautenbach looks like he's going to be holding on to a podium here, and Herman Percival will also look to hold off a podium here. Where is Jean-Ray Bertha? He's further down in 7th though, and he's still trying to chase down on the likes of Michael Feast. Not catching up to him though, unfortunately. But Sinclair Honey and Michael Feast still have to pit, so that's going to be up to 5th position then for Jean-Ray Bertha. He's definitely going to be satisfied with that finish. Last week having a bit of an oopsie and pitting too early on, and that's when obviously the complaints started coming in about the pit window potentially being removed. And after quite a lot of people voted about it, and it seemed like there was a huge part of the community who have actually been wanting it gone for some time, they've just never voiced it. The pit window time limit was finally lifted, and drivers have been given the free roam and the freedom to make pit stops at any time they want during the race. But here we go, Jean du Toit is into the pits, and so is Sinclair Honey behind him. Now it's just Michael Feast left, coming around Parabolica. Is it going to be a pit stop? Once again on the inside line this time, yes. Pulling into the pit lane. The final 3 drivers with 4 minutes left of racing come into the pit lane and get those final pit stops served before the end of the race. Jean du Toit probably already coming out, just not yet. Is this a long pit stop for Jean du Toit? Nope, there he goes, off the lifters and off the jacks, back onto the track. And he's down into 7th position, unfortunately. So lost out, actually down into 8th. Potentially going to lose 9th to Carapatorius. Indeed he is. And that is unfortunate for him. But he tried to pull the undercut. It didn't work as planned. And now down into 9th position. Hoping to keep out in that top 5. Not happening though. Sinclair Honey comes out in 13th. So also not getting the undercut to work just as well as he wanted to. Also cutting across the pit exit line. A little bit dangerous there for him, and actually misses his braking for turn 1. And now jumps over the sausage curbs of turn 1 to avoid that turn 1 turnage. And still sitting in front of the likes of Lawrence Badenhorst. And now Michael Feast also into the pit lane. He comes out in 24th. That is... Oh, and a strike. Oh, stop go 30 for Michael Feast. Speeding out of the pit lane. I wonder why he lost so many positions, down to 24th, whereas Sinclair Honey comes out in 13th when they were not too far of a gap away from each other. So Michael Feast very, very far down on the grid. This is unfortunately going to ruin his entire race after getting that stop go, and he's not going to be happy about that one at all. But Mike LaRue is back in his top seat with 42 laps of racing here. 2 minutes left to go, which means that there's 2 laps left. He's going to come across the line next with about 30 or odd seconds left, and that will round off our final lap. Martin Rautenbach is only 6 seconds behind. Herman Percival will sit in that podium position, and Jean-Ray Bertha has actually gotten up to 4th now, which is great stuff from him, but he doesn't have an easy 4th position because Neil Swart, almost late on his brakes there, deep into the corner, almost actually going into the back of Jean-Ray Buerta. Oh, there is a rear engine. I completely forgot. I mentioned it earlier that there's no rear engine car here, and that it's basically a battle between the front and the mids. There is a rear, and here he is right over here, the only Porsche in the Pro-Am division, and that is Jean-Ray Buerta, doing an incredible job in the rear engine fighter, and still continuing to patrol around this track in the beautiful green Porsche for 1 minute and 26 seconds left to go. Everybody else just trying to form it around track, and as you can see there, you can see Michael Feast down to 24th, coming around Parabolica, is probably going to dive into the pits now to serve that stop go. Otherwise, he will be administered an even further penalty if he doesn't get it served. Stays out. Michael, you might just potentially void your stop go 30 and get an even worse penalty of 130 seconds for not serving a stop go. So we'll have to see how this one goes, but he's got 52 seconds left, and he might potentially still have one more lap left to get the stop go in, but he is playing it close here. It might not register due to the last lap coming from Mike LaRue. There he comes across the lap. Final lap to go with 37 seconds to go, and Mike LaRue stomping on 6.2 seconds. He's had a phenomenal drive here for the Pro-Am division of the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship for Season 21 at Round 2. And Mike LaRue is probably going to look to do the same thing next week at Misano. He's dominated at Donington. He's dominated here at Monza. Will he continue to do the same and draw back that championship standings further and further away from everybody behind him? He's doing a phenomenal job so far. And now the race timer is about to end with 3 seconds left on the clock. And final lap is officially here and counting down. White flag has been shown that the race is officially out of time, and once our race leader crosses the finish line, that is officially our race done and dusted. So where you are now, fight it out till the end. Jean-Ray Buerta will try and chase down on Herman Percival, but Herman just a little bit too far ahead. That's not going to be enough for Jean-Ray Buerta. 4 seconds of a gap. If he had a bit more time, he could have potentially fought this out. But Neil Swartz is on the back now of Jean-Ray Buerta. He's definitely within the gap. Same with Jaco Nordier on the back of Johan Viviers, and pushing on as strong as he can before the end of this race. He could potentially get an overtake here for the battle for 11th, just sitting outside of the top 10. That'll be slightly disappointing. Also, David van Veek still will definitely have a bit of a conversation with him after tonight's race as to what happened, because he was fighting up in our top 10s, and then all of a sudden he unfortunately stopped he unfortunately I think he might have had an incident or something, because he's definitely too far down. And now Michael Feast coming in to get it finished off in 25th position, and there we go. Our leader has officially finished the race. Sorry, I was watching that finish off there. Martin Radbach comes off in second. Herman Percival will wrap around in 3rd position. Incredible job for him. You can see him weaving. He's got loads of seconds behind him into 3rd position. Another podium finish for him. Jean-Ray Buerta is going to be glad about that one. Up into 4th. Neil Swartz will finish in... Why did Neil Swartz finish in 4th and Jean-Ray Buerta in 5th? Did he get overtaken on the line, potentially due to fuel? Hold on, I need to see this race replay. What happened there? So here's Jean-Ray Buerta. Oh, he's already actually lost out. Okay, so Neil Swartz just cutting in front of Jean-Ray Buerta towards the end of the race here. Did take 4th position, and unfortunate for him, for Jean-Ray Buerta, losing out at the final lap there. Jason Landsberg will take 6th position. Ron van der Walt would have taken 7th over there, and then Cara Pretorius behind him in 8th. Sean Herrera, after serving that drive-through penalty, down into 9th position. And incredible drive though from everybody as they continue to finish on track. And as you can see, most people already crossed the line, and Alex Petro down into 1920th. It's a massive fight actually, just coming across the line. Alex Petro does take it though in 18th. 19th, followed by Conrad Martin and Hunty Mygood and Jonathan Chislett just finishing off. Vessel Voda still coming around Parabolica to finish it off in 21st position for the big AMG driver. And followed by him, oh, Michael Feast got another drive-through. That's odd. And finishing off in 22nd would be Chris Collison, and then Chantal Hansen in 23rd. And Michael Feast coming around the track. It's not going to be enough for him. He's definitely going to get a penalty afterwards for that drive-through. And his race seriously went from bad to worse after getting penalty after penalty, unfortunately. And from fighting up in the top 15 to falling all the way down to the final few positions here around the track. So super unfortunate for him. I believe he's actually not going to make the race clock timer here. Still just trying to hold it out on track. All eyes are on you, Michael, as you send it on track. And I believe Nitro is Michael's nickname. I saw it now on the side of his door, as it said Michael Nitro Feast. Let's try to see it on the door. Yeah, you can see it just there by above the white, and that's why you can see the Nitro on the back of his car. Very nice, cool thing. And there we go. Incredible finish, though, for everybody else on track. 27th for Michael Feast. It was an absolutely incredible race. And we are going to go over to our commentary box to potentially see if we'll have anybody join us here for the end of this race. If we don't, then it is what it is. But if we do, that'll be fantastic. We're just loading up the race finish over here. But that was an incredible finish for most of us. For most of the drivers on track. What an absolute race it has been for these drivers. A lot of fights going up and down our track. And it really did turn out to be an amazing race. I'm super glad to have been here for this one once again. And as you can see, back onto our race replay though. What an incredible race this was. And moving over to our Discord, we currently don't have anybody in our race interview channels. But we'll give it one more minute just to see. But once again, phenomenal racing. They never disappoint you at RaceFace.Pro. And it's been a phenomenal session of commentating for all of you. But ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to be a wrap up. We don't have anybody joining us in our interviews room here for the Pro-Am stream. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here for tonight's race here at Monza. It has been an incredible one. Even last night's race at the Sprint Series, it's been an absolute blast. Please remember to drop a like and subscribe on the YouTube stream. It's more than important. And if you do enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe for all further notifications. Click that bell to always be notified of RaceFace.Pro races. And please, ladies and gentlemen, remember next week we race at Misano for the GT3 Champ and Sprint. Oh, we do have somebody in the commentary box. That's Herman Percival. So we do have somebody to interview. Let's quickly hop into our commentary box here with Herman Percival as we hop in on him. Herman Percival, thank you for coming into the commentary box. What an absolute race that was for you. I'm sure it must have seemed a little bit confusing in and out of that race. There were a couple of changes going on between the grid, especially with loads of the different, the different strategies coming in place with the undercuts and overcuts. How did you feel here at Monza?
Well, after turn one, getting ahead of the Mustang, I was like, okay, he's the quick guy. So if I can just block him and then build like a little bit of a gap to the other guys and then just aim for like a P5, P6, I'm happy. And then, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he did great for his, and then the BMW did a super undercut towards the end. Was what, Reitenbach?
Yeah, Martin Runbach also incredible undercut. Jan Roberto also incredible undercut. So lots of people coming in with a good strategy. But I mean, absolutely phenomenal job there. How did the Honda feel?
Spin.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations. You didn't spin. How did the Honda feel?
Towards the end of the first stint, I had to pit, 4 minutes early because the rear tires were completely dead. I think they were like, the right rear was 1.9 on the treadwear, so that's like almost completely gone.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, the second stint now, the right rear was 2.3. So it's eating the rears, but it's because of the no TC turn one, power sliding, and then Ascari, when you hit the curbs, it just, kills you. So the whole aim was make up in sector 1 and 2, and then Ascari just short shift, keep off the curbs, and then rinse, repeat.
Well, I mean, you definitely did it. Like you say, you didn't spin, which I'm sure was objective A for tonight. Objective B was finishing in the podium, which you definitely did. So congratulations once again for taking a podium position. It's done an incredible chance to your championship standings. Next week, we head to Misano. How are you feeling in your car with Misano?
Actually, not bad. It's just that first sector where it gets like a bit weird because you mostly have to be on power on the curbs. So I just need to fiddle with that. The rest of the track, the high-speed turns, the braking, it's all fine. It's stable. It's just that first initial, that double right-hander. That's kind of the problem.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, we wish you the absolute best of luck for the practice for next week. And once again, a massive congratulations to you and the team at Apex Titans Racing Also, big commendation, an awesome livery rock tonight. And I had to make sure to quickly go and sync just after qualifying to make sure I could see it.
Thank you.
And incredible race. But anything else you'd like to say? I'm giving you the floor to mention any particular information about your team.
Well, I see Martin is waiting as well.
Martin
I don't have a team anymore. They all left me.
They all left
so
you?
I'm just, yeah, they all left me. They're all playing Evo and other sims. So I'm just here solo repping by myself. So if anybody wants a teammate, you know, holler at your boy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, he just posted an advertisement there for the Pro-Am division. If you're looking for a team, or if you're looking for some incredible fast drivers to race with, currently Herman Percival is looking for some drivers to team up with for the remainder of the season. So don't miss your chance. He's a quick driver and he knows how to wrap the Honda around the track, where most might fail and end up backwards. But like we always say, ladies and gentlemen, once again, congratulations on your podium tonight. We'll see you next week.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. We'll hopefully see you next week once again in the same commentary box for our next race at Misano.
Let's hope.
Sweet. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, and then bringing in our undercut champion, even mentioned by Herman Percival, Martin Rodenbach, pulling probably one of the most noticeable undercuts of the session. Congratulations on a podium finish. How are you feeling?
Hi. Yeah, good, thank you. Wasn't a planned undercut. That's just the way I happened to feel in, I guess. Worked out well, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, Herman Percival was just mentioning that you pulled an absolutely insane undercut. We all noticed it here in the virtual grandstand. How on earth did that pit strategy work out? You mentioned that you weren't planning on doing that, but it ended up becoming the strategy.
Yeah, I pretty much put in half the fuel for the first half of the race, and for the second half, equal amounts. And then always planned to do that little mini pit stop in the middle somewhere where there's traffic, and yeah, it worked out tonight. There wasn't any cars around me.
Oh, absolutely incredible. I mean, you've done a phenomenal job there, hooking up quite a good amount of points here for round 2 of the GT3 Championship. We head to Misano next week. How are you feeling in the BMW for next week's race?
Feeling good, but whenever I see a Mustang around me, it's pretty hectic. We know they fly.
Absolutely.
So yeah, well done to Mike. He was lightning quick, uncatchable. So yeah, look forward to Misano.
Yep, Misano is definitely going to be an interesting one. But once again, massive congratulations on your podium finish. I'm going to give you the floor to mention anything about your team, anything about anybody who possibly helped you for tonight's race, and go at it.
No, I'm part of the Kinetic Simworks racing team, or KSR. Part of Baptist's old crew, so some of our guys racing pro and 1 or 2 of us in pro-am. Yeah, it was just a good time, I guess.
Well, absolutely incredible. Well, I hope you had a fun time tonight. You definitely showed your worth on track, and we can't wait to see what you do next week at Misano. We wish you the best of luck for next week, and have an absolutely amazing night. We'll see you next week at Misano.
Thanks, Justin. Cheers, everyone.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and then pulling in the final man here for the interview room, the one who showed everybody who's boss for the 2nd time in a row here for the GT3 Championship of Season 21, Mike LaRue in the massive monster V8 Mustang. How did it feel once again chipping in podium in first position tonight in Monza?
How's it? It felt good. The first stint a lot better than the second one. Like after I got into the lead, everything just clicked and the lap times were coming in nicely. But after my stop, I just couldn't get the flow again. And towards the end, I actually there was a few laps that I was really worried that I might not get ahead of Martin, but I managed to luckily just get ahead of him at the end.
Well, incredible job. You really showed your worst. So like you mentioned the first stint a lot easier than the second, a little bit too much tire wear, and obviously you've really started to learn the track now at Monza with driving the car twice now for sprint and championship. But we head over to Misano next week. How are you feeling, especially with currently leading the Pro-Am Season 21 Championship? How do you feel going into Misano?
A bit mixed feelings. So happy about the way it currently is. I can be okay-ish at Misano, but the previous about 3 or 4 races I've had, they all ended in the wall or the spin. So I'll need to sort that out before I actually or before the race, just to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Absolutely. So a little bit of refining to do for next week, a little bit of focus and head down time. But we cannot wait to see what you've done, what you're going to do next week. We've seen what you've done for Donington Park and Monza. You've really started to control that Mustang, that unwildly beast, and have definitely made it work. I just want to give you the moment to mention anything that you'd possibly have on your mind, anything about your team, anything about any personalized sponsors, and especially how you're feeling going on towards the next races, how you're feeling with the current team, and how we're going to continue progressing here.
Yeah, so I'm part of the Venomworks crew. But yeah, like just everybody there, we all sort of like push each other to get faster. So just shout out to them all. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. Hopefully a few more of us join in the coming seasons. But yeah, it's going well.
Well, absolutely incredible. I don't want to hold on to too much longer. You've definitely earned yourself a short night there of celebrations for once again coming across in first. So without further ado, have an absolutely amazing night. Congratulations once again, and we'll see you next week at Misano.
Cool. Thanks very much.
All right then, ladies and gentlemen, and that is going to wrap up our evening of racing here for the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship for round 2 at Misano. It's been an absolute pleasure commentating this session for you, and a good heads up and a reminder, like we mentioned earlier, we head to Misano next week, another Italian circuit, but very complex. You heard from some of our top runners that they are struggling to get their car under control there, so we could potentially see some change in action going into Misano. So make sure you're there, don't miss it, don't be late. 8 o'clock start time. We'll see you next week at Misano, and like always, thanks again to everybody who's been here for the virtual grandstand and all our partners and official supporters. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you for first of all, thanks for the shout out in the virtual grandstand. It is an absolute pleasure. And without further ado, like always, ending off the stream, to everybody in the virtual grandstand, to all of our participants here at RaceFace.Pro, a good morning, a good evening, a good afternoon, and a good night, everybody. We'll see you next week at Misano.